The Israeli Defense Force and Palestinian armed group Hamas will have another shot at a temporary truce from tomorrow morning. Mediator Qatar has confirmed that the four-day break in fighting will begin at 7 a.m. tomorrow. Meanwhile, Israel is still bombing Gaza, with Palestinians and rescuers searching for casualties among the rubble for another day. The death toll in Gaza has now passed 14,000, and many of the people who died are said to be women and children. Hamas killed about 1,200 people when it attacked southern Israel on October 7th. That's when it also took around 240 hostages. These are the people whose release is now expected over the coming days. This truce means that Hamas will exchange at least 10 of the hostages every day until a total of 50 have been released. But also, in exchange for that, there'll be about 150 Palestinians, women and children who are currently in Israeli prisons, who will also be freed.
The beginning of the pause will be 7 a.m. Friday, the 24th of November, and it will last, of course, as agreed, for 4 days. And the first batch of civilians to be released from Gaza will be around 4 p.m. of the same day. They will be 13 in number, all women and children, and those hostages who are from the same families will be put together within the same patch. Obviously, every day will include a number of civilians, as agreed, to total 50 within the 4 days. We have just finished with all the communication with all parties in order to ascertain the lists of those civilians who will be freed as a result of the deal agreed upon by both parties. The lists have been handed to both sides, and finally, in a communication just now, the list has been handed to the Israeli intelligence service, the Mossad, in order to facilitate the implementation of the deal.
Well, as part of the truce that will kick in tomorrow morning in Gaza, we're expecting to see the movement of more aid into the Palestinian enclave, where about 2.2 million people would have been affected by the humanitarian disaster as a result of the war. Let's speak now to Doctors Without Borders South Africa coordinator Monica Genya. Monica, very good evening to you. Welcome back to News at Prime. So when this truce does kick in tomorrow at 7 o'clock local time, how much aid will you be able to get into Gaza?
We have aid standing by at the Al-Rafah border crossing, and we have humanitarian supplies, medical supplies, waiting to go in. We've had thousands of tons of medical aid and equipment waiting, ready to go. So as soon as we are able to, we will start moving it across.
And what sort of supplies are we talking about here?
We're talking about medicines, medical equipment, medical supplies. We are still not able to take in any anesthesia, which is a bit of a problem. But medicines, for sure, medical supplies. We have supplies that will help our surgeons who are inside the strip at the moment be able to treat their patients.
And why not anesthesia? Because for several weeks now, in fact, from very early on, since the bombardment of the Gaza Strip, many doctors were saying they're seeing harrowing situations where they had to amputate patients even without any sort of anesthesia. Why is that not allowed in?
Up to this point, we have not gotten permission to take it in. So we are awaiting permission to be able to take it into the strip. We still haven't gotten it as per the information that I have.
Have you been told why it's not allowed?
At the moment, we don't have a reason. We just keep on trying to get it approved, and it's not been approved yet.
So when you do manage to get the trucks in, am I right to assume that this will also still be done through the Rafah border crossing with Egypt? From that point on, how far into Gaza would you be able to go? By that I mean, where exactly will the supplies be taken?
We're supporting several hospitals, and we're going to start supporting more in the south. Going into the north is still quite complicated. So we're supporting quite a few hospitals within the vicinity of the Al-Shifa hospital. We're still inside the Al-Auda hospital, and that's where we're going to be concentrated at the time being until it's a bit safer to go further north.
And how safe is it to even go into what is meant to be the safe part of Gaza currently? Because we've had reports of people, civilians, some of them fleeing on foot because they don't have fuel to get their cars going, being struck by Israeli defense forces as they're trying to make their way to safety. So in terms of the aid, what protection is available for those convoys?
From what we're seeing, there are no safe spaces at the moment in Gaza. There are no safe spaces. We ourselves had a convoy attacked while we were trying to evacuate members of our staff and their families who wanted to leave. Were not able to, and our convoy was attacked a few days ago. There are no safe spaces. We are also seeing a lot of fresh victims of strikes coming into our hospital premises. There are just no safe spaces.
And let's talk about the state of the hospitals, because several of them now have either come under direct attack or there have been attacks in the vicinity of the hospitals, the likes of Al-Shifa, where Israel claims that they, for example, have Hamas tunnels beneath the surface. The veracity of those claims has been up for debate. But what is left of the health infrastructure in Gaza?
Well, it's just a horrific situation. MSF has been repeatedly asking for safe passage to evacuate some of our staff and their families. We've been asking for safe passage for our patients to either to evacuate or to come to the hospitals where they can at least seek whatever small amount of medical aid is still available to them. Particularly those in critical conditions who couldn't evacuate even if they wanted to. Nobody is safe. The condition is it's unbearable.
And how many of your staff are still in Gaza at the moment? And in that, do you know how many are foreign nationals? How many are Palestinians who would have been living in Gaza anyway?
We evacuated our international staff earlier this month, and then a team of 15 international staff entered Gaza on the 14th of November. And on the 16th of November, they started supporting our Palestinian colleagues, surgeons who are still working there. We have around 300 national staff who we are, most of whom we are trying to evacuate together with their families. There are some who prefer to stay, even if their families do go. So MSF is still very much supporting our patients on the ground.
And how much pressure are you feeling, Monica, to get supplies into Gaza as soon as possible? Because Benjamin Netanyahu has been clear that at the end of this 4 days, the war will continue.
There's a lot of pressure. This is a lot of pressure on us. We will do our best, of course. We are trying everything we can to get into the Strip and into the hospitals with whatever medical supplies we're able to, that we're permitted to, as soon as it is safe to do so and that we have permission to do so. But there is a tremendous amount of pressure to do it in that short span of time, if indeed it actually comes to pass.
Let me get your thoughts on another story that unfolded today, the detention of the head of the Al-Shifa hospital taken by Israeli forces in connection with what they say are those Hamas tunnels beneath the surface of the hospital. We've spoken a lot about the impact of the attacks on hospitals, on healthcare workers, their families, etc. So the threat to life. But now that we're seeing a health professional detained in this way by a foreign government, how concerning is that for you as an aid group?
No, it's extremely concerning, Humanitarian medical workers should not be a target at any time. And we're just, it's horrific to see basically what is happening at the moment. We have lost members of our staff in this war, and it's something that simply cannot continue.
Monica Genya, good to speak to you. Monica is from the South African Office of Doctors Without Borders, speaking to us about what they're doing in Gaza at the moment. Thank you.